So you said you grew up and your mom was in jail.
Yes.
How old were you when she got into jail?
Ever since I can remember.
I don't want to intrude, but was it something to do with like drugs or?
My mother was mass producing methamphetamines to all of California, like Breaking Bad style, with labs here to San Francisco.
Hi, I'm Matt.
I'm Judy.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. Do you mind if I get you on camera or not?
I don't know.
Yes, you just had a second facelift. This is what you did it for. Come on.
Not exactly.
Take me back to before and what you were doing and everything like that.
Well, I had 3 kids.
You had one kid.
I had you and 2 other kids, Wendy and Jennifer.
You weren't adopted. You weren't. They
didn't
weren't your
adopt them.
biological kids.
They dropped them off at my house.
Really?
Yeah, I was living in Carlsbad at the time, and I had an ex-girlfriend, and she came over and dropped these 2 kids off and said, "This is my ex's kids, and my girlfriend is up in Klamath Falls or something. She's on her way down. Will you keep the kids?" And I said, "I guess so. Like, who's this lady? What's her phone number?" So the lady finally came to get her kids, and I ended up living with her and the 2 kids and Bailey. I was like in love with the kids by then. The 2 girls, I was totally like smitten, you know?
And what was it like for you to all of a sudden have 2 kids join the family?
I don't remember this part of my life, so
Really?
no comment.
So at that time, what were you doing for a living?
I was a meth manufacturer.
What's a day-to-day job of a meth manufacturer?
I would set up labs, break down labs, process chemicals, deal with the cops.
How did you find yourself in that career?
I had a legitimate career. I was a mechanic, and I was like always learning about diesels and every kind of motor ever known to man. And then somebody offered me this weekend job one time. It said, pay me $5,000 to come help process some chemicals. And it was like 2 days up in Big Bear. And I thought, well, that's more than I make in a week. So I did it, and I did a really good job. And then they asked me back the next week.
But at that time, did you know what you were doing? Like, did you know the severity of the situation?
Yes, I did, actually. I knew that eventually that it was like the outlaw life kind of thing. Like I was living outside the law, large amounts of cash, you can't put it in the bank. There's certain problems with that.
With the cash, you have to launder it, right? Or things like that?
Yeah, it's a real problem. It's hard to deal with. We tried burying it, and then the moisture in the bills made it rot really quick. And so then we tried charging barrels with nitrogen and burying them.
Just full of cash.
Full of cash. And then those were problems because the zert fittings would leak, and then you lose the nitrogen charge. So it's really a problem. I spent a lot of time trying to bury and hide cash.
And coming from, a legal profession into that, what was the adjustment period like?
The process of becoming an outlaw, there's a lot of things you have to accept about that. And one is you don't let somebody stick a camera in your face and like stuff like that. And then everywhere I went, I would rent hotels, and I would rent these like cabins in the woods and stuff. We had kind of a crazy lifestyle. I kept my kids away from the meth because I knew about the child laws and stuff. And I didn't want to lose my kids, because I love my kids. And so I always had them in safe places when I was doing these activities, and very safe places. Like the cops couldn't even find them when I got busted. Where's your kids? I'm like, I'm not telling you. You know what I mean? But they were always away from it. At least I had that much common sense.
Oh, this is perfect. Oh, I love it. If you are one of those that have been wanting longer episodes and a way to support me and the channel, I started a Patreon. Thank you so much for your support.
It's kind of scary.
I got you. There's 5 of them. You can go.
Oh, nice. And then I just go like this, right?
Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Run, Diego! Come on, boy!
Wow. Are you guys ready?
I rented a limousine, and I picked up the kids because I didn't get to see them that much I was always gone off doing this stuff. So I picked them up with a limo, and they were so happy to see me and everything. So I took them to Toys R Us, and I said, pick out anything you fucking want. Like, I'm not kidding, like the little drivey things. Wendy and Jennifer had lived a really horrible life of abuse. Jennifer even had like a skull fracture from where the husband had beat her and stuff. The kids were really abused and they never had anything. So I gave them everything, like buy anything. And they were so exhausted. It was so funny. And I said, just pick it out. And I had the store clerk follow us. I said, just follow me around. And she would tag everything they wanted. Like, I want one of these. I want the bike. I want the driving thing. That part of my job I really liked, being able to help the kids and give them everything they wanted.
It seems like so much of your life revolves around your love for your family and your love you have for your children and stuff. And in the back of your head, did you know that if you continued this hustle that eventually you would get caught and you'd get sent away?
I made plans to escape, basically, because once you're locked into that kind of lifestyle, a lot of people depend on it. Like the Hells Angels depended on me. What I did is I went back to college and went to a airframe and power plant engineer school. And I was learning to deal with airplanes and stuff like that. And I was making straight A's. I was really doing good. And I sold my labs. I gave my labs to my ex-boyfriend, sold them. He got busted with 5 pounds of pure with a DEA agent like the first time he tried to cook. And he blamed it all on me. So actually when I got arrested, it wasn't even my lab. It was.
That's how you got caught, because he ratted you out.
Yeah, and his wife and everybody else. He became a DEA informant, and that's how it went down. But I squared it in my mind because I'd done it so many times. Like I probably had karma to pay.
Take me back to that day that you got caught. Like, did they come to your house or did they call you, or what does that look like?
Actually, the narcotics task force people I used to buy my ephedrine from, they were cops, and they're like the DEA of California. I have a file. So they called my contacts where I bought the chemicals from, and they were narcotics task force cops. And they called me because they all knew me personally because they were dirty cops, right? So they called me and said, hey, we just found out from the DEA they're going to arrest you, and they're going to come bust down your parents' door to get you. So you have a choice, like go in and surrender by tomorrow morning, or they're coming to get you. I couldn't get my parents involved in something like that or my family, so I went and turned myself in.
And what were your thoughts going there, knowing that you were going to be facing a lot of years away from your children?
I just was like, I'm f***ed. But I didn't want to become an informant or anything like that. I didn't even want to inform on the cops because they have guns, and I had to leave my family behind, and they were dirty cops and they weren't nice cops. I really didn't want any part of it anymore. I was just like, they offered me deals to rat on people and, turn other people in and stuff like that. And I just told my lawyer, I can't really do that because I was really over it anyway, the whole lifestyle. So I didn't want to continue in some other weird branch of it. You know what I mean? So I just bit the bullet and took it.
What was your sentencing?
30 years to life.
30 years to life.
Yeah, in federal prison.
And how much did you actually spend of that?
After I was sentenced for 30 years to life, they used to weigh all the liquid. So they charged me with 53.5 kilos, which is 2.2 pounds a kilo, right? Of pure meth, like it was 98% pure. That was life, right? But then they changed the law and made it retroactive, which is odd. They don't normally do that. They reduced it down to 16 years because they couldn't weigh the liquid anymore. So it became 16 years. I got a year off for the drug program, for good behavior in the drug program. And then I did 85% of that. It ended up about 14 or 15 and something change.
Did you get to say bye to Love Bailey, or do you remember that moment?
I didn't let my kids involved in that, like what was happening. She was really young. She was really little, like 2 or 3 or something like that. Okay. She was a baby. So it's way over her head.
Did you go see her in prison?
Mm-hmm. I remember the seesaw, the teeter-totter was where we connected. Because I hated being around all those other people. You'd make me these little circuit board bugs or something and turn them into necklaces.
I feel like your act of love is giving. You said Toys R Us, and I think of Savage Ranch. And it's your way of showing love.
Yeah. I'm not a selfish person. I'm a giving person. And, I find that love and giving is much more enjoyable than greed and coveting everything. I'm just not into that.
Is it so nice living so close to each other now?
It really is.
We hate it.
We don't see each other a lot, believe it or not. You would think we'd see each other every single day, but she's really busy. I'm really busy. Sometimes we don't see each other for a week or two at a time because I'm going in a completely different direction.
We try to make Sundays our day. It just works out.
It's so special. I wish I lived that close to my parents.
But it is fun to be able to visit my kid and, come
and
up.
harass me. Come bang on the horn.
I do. I beep out there.
I love it.
It flips her out and she gets really mad.
It's
And
so
I think
cute.
It's funny as
She loves
shit.
it.
It's so cute.
It's funny, and then I'll come back and do it again.
She loves pushing my buttons.
Looking back on your life and the time you spent in prison, would you do it all again?
You know, to be honest with you, I had a really great life. I had a blessed life. I mean, even in an outlaw, you don't get 30 years in federal prison for being like some low-level drug dealer, right? Even my lawyer said, you know, why did you have to do it so big? Because that's how I think. I think big. If I'm going to build one house, why wouldn't I buy the land and build 20 of them? You know what I mean? That's the way I think.
And that's why you're doing so many amazing things right now and you've achieved so much. I feel like a lot of people that probably get out of prison have a different story, unfortunately, than you.
Oh, like the story that they tell us in prison, they told us that, oh, the recidivism rate is 60%, all this stuff, you're going to end up in prison again. You can't vote, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can just go out and be a slave. That was basically what we're told, making low income, right? I'm rebellious enough. I said, you, man. I'm not. That's not my story. Like, that's your story that you conjured up in your fucking head. I'm going to create my own story. I'm going to write my own life. I'm going to do what makes me happy in the pursuit of happiness. You know, our founding fathers told us, you know, that's one of our inalienable rights, is that we have the pursuit of happiness. I'm going after it. I'm going to write my own story. So there was no way I was going to touch drugs. I have not touched a drug in 40 years. Some weed, you know, some wine, some weed, but no drugs.
You don't know how many people are going to watch that maybe have gone to jail or prison and hear your story and realize that, like, yeah, like you were saying, they're the author of their own story and they can change the narrative.
Yeah, don't believe the bullshit they tell you. You're never going to amount to anything, you know, this negative connotation. You can create your own life. You don't have to listen to that shit. Go get a good job. Keep that job. Do the best you can. Work really hard and you'll succeed. Just remember, don't worry about the minutia. Get that job, land that job, do the best you can. You get a better job, and you'll make it.
I'm so proud of you that, you know, look what you've accomplished, and you do this all legally now, doing, you know, your weed business, your construction business, and you must feel so proud of yourself too.
I don't look at it in that terms. I just look at it like I try to do the best I can do, accomplish the most I can accomplish in a positive way where I'm contributing to society. And in that way, I succeed.
The sun was starting to set at the Savage Ranch. It had been a whole day there, and I felt so at home.
Where the bears and transsexuals play. Where moaning is heard, the horniest of word, and the get fucked in the head.
The stories that were shared with me, the hearts that opened up to me, I truly felt such a connection with Love and her mom. As I watched Love film content with her friend, I took a moment surrounded by the beautiful nature to think of my own path, of what brought me here to this very moment. To be honest, a lot of it has to do with all of you watching. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me on this ride as we get to meet these interesting, complex, beautiful, unique, and important people that I'll forever have in my life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I loved meeting you.
Yeah, likewise.
Being in Savage Ranch, it was so beautiful.
This is only the beginning.
And I love your mom too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're my daddy.
Yeah. I'm feeling a fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Maybe you
thank
need to
you.
be slathered up next time.
Okay, next time for sure.
You promise?
Yeah.
Pinky swear.
Bye.
I hope you're subscribed, and I will see you next week.